For Black Clover's role models, there were a lot of choices. You could look at someone, someone like Yami, someone straightforward to the story and the main cast, or you can, go over towards something even to Yami's role model with Julius. But he wasn't the character I really wanted to even pick, and obviously I already picked Yami. But who I really wanted to look at was Fuegoleon, because Fuegoleon, I think, his layout in the story was a little bit kind of surprising, and both his execution in kind of first character interactions, but also the way that you displayed and the way he came back and, all his interactions with other characters. Because with Yami's lessons were much more of kind of like, hey, I'm going to teach this to you and you can figure it out, so it's only a lesson if you really just kind of take my words and what I give to you seriously. Whereas Fuegoleon, he was much more a passion of, straightforward giving a lesson. He was trying to do something better to somebody, which is a trait I think will help him a lot in, run for the next Wizard King. Because in my opinion, I think he is the perfect candidate for the next person after Julius, because, Yami is not up to the task. He does not, it's not something he would really kind of sit well within. And it'd be really weird to kind of take the Black Bulls out of that kind of situation, because otherwise, Yami's not going to somehow bring all of them into, into his new circles after he becomes Wizard King. That'd be kind of strange. And Nozel, like, I don't think that's even strong enough yet. I don't think he's got the kind of like level to back up that kind of position. I don't think he really needs it yet. Maybe if something happens to Fuegoleon, if he's the one that does it. Merleon is, I think, the strongest at the moment candidate for it, but, she's completely against, like, any form of, like, high political and, like, social status like that. Where Fuegoleon, like I said, not only does he have that kind of, like, headbeat right-in lesson mentality, he's got that, he's really got that kind of set mindset for the role, but he's also got the power. I mean, he's got Salamander on top of everything. Because when you look at something like Nozel wasn't as bad as I think a lot of people made him out to be initially. I mean, I think, going to the series, knowing Noel's backstory in the first interactions we got with Nozel, he seemed like a pretty bad guy, but he was much more of like, anybody he doesn't think can pull their weight in the Magic Knights, he's got a problem with, because he takes his job very seriously. And we even saw after, events with Fuegoleon almost dying, that Nozel was even insulting himself for not being able to, have any effect on the situation. Because he, as I said, he wasn't pulling his weight in his mind as a member of the Magic Knights. And when he sees characters can pull their weight, he's actually a lot nicer to them. But I don't think that's a very good kind of way to approach situations as a Wizard King, whereas Fuegoleon is very passionate. He was very kind of like headstrong over the when you talked to Noelle, and he kind of like told her how being weak isn't a bad thing. It's kind of like acknowledging you're weak and staying weak, because once you know your weakness and you know something that you're like an area you're bad in or something needs to improve on, something about you that is a fault, that just means that you know something that you can kind of adjust in order to grow in multiple ways. And if you acknowledge them and just left it, that's really what makes you a weak person. And that kind of personality aspect, I would really just kind of benefit his position in being an influence over everything, while, if he ends up becoming the Wizard King. And strength-wise, I think, is also very important. We know that it's not just kind of your mindset and political standing and all these much more nice things to say about the position. You also need to be powerful. You need to have the merit to really stand up for it. And on top of being, a captain, here comes Fuegoleon with Salamander, the great fire spirit. I don't know if you hear my cat in the background. He's trying to fight my other cat. But those things just all tying together are really nice. And his story is pretty good, too. He has, him starting out in the series. We got a really nice motivational moment with him and Noelle. Him showing up to help Asta in the fight with Radis, just going through all his zombies, just incinerating, laying them out, and then he ends up getting, taken by members of the Eye of the Midnight Sun. He ends up getting his arm cut off, and part of his, body's pretty much just beaten and bloody. He's bleeding out, and it was laid out like he might die. He was able to survive, but he was in a coma for a couple months, and came back in the middle of the Elf Resurrection arc. Now with Salamander, the great fire spirit, which was such an important part. What's funny is in the anime, the Black Clover anime, it is a weekly, obviously, like the time, budget, staff, and effort, like they're not going to go ham every single episode. We've seen the anime enough to know like it's got some good quality times, but it's also got some not so good times. Like the episode when Fuegoleon comes up, there were some parts that were kind of like, you compare, it looks all right, but when you compare it to like the scene in the manga, you're like, damn, this one dirty. The only part that I cared about that whole episode looking good was when he walked out with that firearm, because that was such a sick panel. And I love his big infernal limb now that he's can use throughout the series, and it's gonna be really sick just like imagining him as this one-armed king that when he fights has this blazing arm made of raw fire, and he's got a great spear, a dragon no less, at his back. I'm wondering if when he combines it, because eventually he's going to get Spirit Dive, I'm hoping it's not just a dragon, it's combined with a lion, because the Crimson Lions is their symbol. For a lion dragon, that'd be pretty sick. Just some big, like, maybe like make it look kind of like saber-toothed tiger, kind of like, but I guess it's more like a saber-toothed lion. Something like that, just to give that kind of extra flair to him would be really nice. Fuegoleon, though, I'm intrigued to know what he's going to do in the current arc. I'm intrigued to know how he's going to kind of keep progressing the series. Because as it is right now, like I said, he's one of the better candidates to become the Wizard King. And it's not just in merit, it's in strength. We've got, the post-Elf Resurrection arc stuff to kind of deal with. And out of everything going on right now, he's one of the only characters that would be able to really influence what's going on in Damnatio Kira. But I'm not sure if he really will be able to unless he takes like Wizard King's spot, and even then, like he's still got some competition. Like obviously, Damnatio is a very high-powered political character, and then Augustus straight on him too as the actual king, because Wizard King is pretty much like head of their military, whereas the actual king is an actual king. But Fuegoleon also has royal blood to kind of back up what he has. It wouldn't surprise me if he stepped in to try and help, because unlike Nozel probably wouldn't go against the position of the job. I mean, easily could, given some of the events in the arc, kind of swaying him a little bit towards some of these characters. But Fuegoleon would more than likely, like, it wouldn't surprise me, like I said, if he stepped in. Like, it wouldn't surprise me as well if he didn't. But one thing we know about the Vermillion family is they're very passionate about how they go about things. And look at Mare Leona, look at Fuegoleon, look at Leopold's conviction, look at someone like Kirsch. Like, everything about them just comes out as, high energy in what they're doing. And Fuegoleon's is much more of, like, very stoic, bold demeanor. And then when it comes to trying to talk to another character, it's just straight up, like, very abrasive in the way that he went about it. Because he just straight will just knock people down in order to kind of get the message across them. But he doesn't do it out of aggression. He does it because, like I said, he's trying to help them. He's trying to lay out, a hard knocks lesson into their character to help them. He doesn't want to just be like, we don't need weak magic knights. We don't need you to do these things. It's, I want to help you. Here's how I know how to help people. Here's how I know how to convey this message to you in order for you to become stronger, not just as a magic knight, but as a person. So it was a really interesting kind of tale for Fuegoleon, because we got so much hype with him within the first parts of the capital invasion little arc, and then he just got completely dead off for what was it, a little over 100 chapters. I think it was like I don't think he came back until, I don't remember the exact number. I think it was like mid to late 170s. I don't remember the exact. I know the animes like messed with it. Like he came back way sooner because because a lot of events happen around the same time, so you can kind of like shuffle some of them around and it won't affect the plot much. But Fuegoleon, just like the dude for a majority of the series has been completely just asleep. He's been in that coma, but now he's back. He's full energy now. He's, like I said, he's got the great fire spirit salamander, and he's going to be ready to rock. And like I said, when I was talking about, I've talked about it before in when it comes to the Wizard King, we know that there's obviously, you know, much more kind of personal traits that are important, but merit, kind of influence, display is also really important, because you want because one of the things that is important is the character to feel protected. That's why, you know, merit and accomplishments and just overall strength is a vital thing, because when you look at Julius could have been a man's man. He could have been good with all the people. He could have been a great political speaker. He could have been great at dealing with social issues. But when it came down to it, like, he needed to be strong enough to protect the Clover Kingdom against threats. And so does whoever follows him. And Nozel is cool, but he's not even, he's like kind of captain level. Vermillion is kind of like in between captain and Wizard King, kind of like those two positions. Yami's kind of like upper captain. Fuegoleon currently is kind of like the same way. He's kind of like an upper captain level. But once he gets Spirit Dive alone, I think he's going to cover that gap up to like him and Vermillion. And with Salamander, it wouldn't surprise me if Spirit Dive, if he got to like kind of like a low threshold of Wizard King. Maybe not the same as Julius, but it'd be like, oh wow, he's like as powerful as Wizard King number whatever. Like already, this is crazy. Because it's already like a big multiplier, and it's already like an impressive thing. But plus, when you go against the Clover Kingdom, when you're some of these other countries, you got to kind of keep in mind like what exactly you're going against. You're like, oh, we're thinking of invading this country. What are we dealing with? And you look at like Lumiere when Lumiere was king, and it's like, oh, he's a light mage with like crazy overpowered like speed and like attack abilities. It's like, well, that's impressive. You have Julius. Julius is a time mage who can turn people into dust, stop people in time. He can reverse wounds on his body with time. He can do all these crazy abilities. You'd be like, wow, that's pretty absurd. How are we going to deal with that? And even if you look at someone like, say, when Asta becomes Wizard King, you'd be like, well, what does this guy have? And you just explain all his anti-magic abilities, and you'll be like, god damn, that's pretty wild. And Fuegoleon, you can kind of look at like Nozel, and Nozel's like, oh, Mercury Magic. It's like really high control. He could poison you and whatnot. It's impressive, but it's not like, you know, you just hear his capabilities and you're sweating. Whereas Fuegoleon now, it's like, well, what's important? What's crazy about this guy? Well, he's a one-armed king, and it's like, well, okay, that doesn't sound too bad. He can make an arm out of pure fire because he has Salamander, the Great Fire Spirit, which is pretty much a pure fire and mana dragon that he can merge with into like a human dragon spirit form. You'd be like, well, we'll wait till the next guy. We'll wait till the next guy and see if he's if he's that crazy, and then maybe we'll give it a chance. You know, that's just one of those factors I really think needs to be in it, because when you're invading another country like this, their biggest character you're gonna need to know. You need to know all the key players, but their biggest deal is gonna be like top like learning priority. And the capability difference between Fuegoleon and Nozel is too big right now. I think Salamander just made that kind of like spot between them of like, I wonder who's stronger. It's like, Fuegoleon's stronger. I mean, Salamander, ridiculous. Other than that, tell me in the comment section below what you thought about this character. Like I said, I liked, there are other role models, but I liked his one because of the way he relates to a lot of like the kind of younger characters, similar to how like when we see how Julius was to Yami. And you can have role model to a bunch of randoms, but I just liked seeing how it kind of like directly tied into some of the main ones, especially Noelle, because Noelle early, we know like she's come a long way, but you know, as she was at the start, she really couldn't do much. And Fuegoleon gave her some really good advice that I think really helped her character. Other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, I'd really appreciate it. If you would befriend the like button and subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But that, I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank you all for listening. Bye.